أيها الساقي إليك المشتكى قد دعوناك وإن لم تسمعي ونديم همت في غرته وشربت الراح من راحته كلما استيقظ من سكرته جذب الزق إليه واتكى وسقاني أربعا في أربعين أيها الساقي إليك المشتكى قد دعوناك وإن لم تسمعي غصن بان مال من حيث استوى مات من يحيه من فرط الجوى خفق الأحشاء موهون القوى كلما فكر في البين بكى ويحه يبكي لمن لم يقع أيها الساقي إليك المشتكى قد دعوناك وإن لم تسمعي ما لعيني عشيت بالنظر أنكرت بعدك ضوء القمر وإذا ما شئبري عشيت عيني من طول البكاء وبكى بعضي على بعض معي أيها الساقي إليك المشتكى قد دعوناك وإن لم تسمعي ليس لي صبر ولا لي جلد ما لقومي عدلوا واجتهدوا أنكروا شكواي مما أجدوا مثل حالي حقه أن تشتكى كمد اليأس وذل الطبع أيها الساقي إليك المشتكى قد دعوناك وإن لم تسمعي كبد حر ودمع يكف يعرف الذنب يعترف لك نسام ولك حكايتي أيها الساقي إليك المشتكي أدعونك وإنك تسمعي أيها الساقي إليك المشتكي كم دعونك وإنك تسمعي Alta, alta es la luna cuando empezamos con el ser y lloramos sin ventura, nunca llegué a nacer. Y lloramos sin ventura, nunca llegué a nacer. Los ojos me se hincharon de tanto mirar la mar, va por Alta, alta es la luna cuando empezamos con el ser y lloramos sin ventura, nunca llegué a nacer. Y lloramos sin ventura, nunca llegué a nacer. Los ojos me se hincharon de tanto mirar la mar, vaporitos me aliviaron querido es hermoso, estarás diale con él, la una cae arrolladados, la otra cae chashabash, la una cae arrolladados, la otra cae chashabash. Mi querido soy mi mano y un varada escandal. Mi madre hizo curada, no me tuvo de ganar. Mi madre hizo curada, no me tuvo de ganar.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to the World Alliance of Qara'im, Torah Study for Parshat Shemini on the 26th of March, 2022. In the secular calendar, we welcome you all, and we are going to dig right in. So today we're in Parshat Shemini. That is going to be Leviticus 9, basically 9 through 11. And let's see something here. Yep, the entire chapters 9, 10, and 11. So 3 chapters, a reasonably sized parasha. And of course, what we're going to do in the morning is what we usually do is try to read through with minimal interruptions. And then after we're done with that, and in the afternoon study, we'll do some more in-depth analysis. Although, of course, I often, violate that principle. And what was I going to say? And start doing analysis even when I'm reading through. But I'm trying to get through. I'm trying to get through most of the parsha is the idea in the morning study. So here we go. I'm going to share the screen, and we've got to do it this way, and we've got to do it this way, and we've got to do it this way. And I'm going to turn off the video because I've noticed that the internet here is sometimes kind of sketchy. And so it'll be better if the camera is off. So there we go. We are beginning in Leviticus 19. In Leviticus 9. I'm going to be reading in Hebrew. Follow along in Hebrew and or whatever language you wish. And let's do this, okay? ויהי ביום השמיני קרא משה לאהרון ולבניו ולזקני ישראל ויאמר אל אהרון קח לך עגל בן בקר לחטאת ועיל לעולה תמימים והקרב לפני יהוה ואל בני ישראל תדבר לאמור קחו שעיר עזים לחטאת ועגל וחבש בני שנה תמימים לעולה ושור ועיל לשלמים מזבח לפני יהוה ומנחה בלולה בשמן כי היום יהוה נראה עליכם. Verse 5. ויקחו את אשר ציווה משה אל פני אוהל מועד ויקרבו כל העדה ויעמדו לפני יהוה. ויאמר משה זה הדבר אשר ציווה יהוה תעשו וירא עליכם כבוד יהוה. Verse 7. ויאמר משה אל אהרון קרב אל המזבח ועשה את חטאתך ואת עולתך וכפר בעדך ובעד העם ועשה את קורבן העם וכפר בעדם כאשר ציווה יהוה. ויקרב אהרון אל המזבח, וישחט את עגל החטאת אשר לו, ויקריבו בני אהרון את הדם אליו, ויטבול אצבעו בדם, ויתן על קרנות המזבח, ואת הדם יצק על יסוד המזבח. In verse 10. ואת החלב ואת הכליות, ואת היותרת מן הכבד, מן החטאת, הקדיר המזבחה, כאשר ציווה יחווה את משה, ואת הבשר ואת האור שרף באש מחוץ למחנה, וישחט את העולה, וימציאו בני אהרון אליו את הדם, ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב, ואת העולה המציאו אליו לנתחיה, ואת הראש ויקטר על המזבח, וירחץ את הקרב ואת הקרעים, ויקטר על העולה המזבחה, ויקרב את קורבן העם, ויקח את שעיר החטאת, verse 15 by the way, אשר לעם, וישחטהו ויחטהו כראשון, ויקרב את העולה ויעשיה כמשפט, ויקרב את המנחה וימלא כפו ממנה, ויקטר על המזבח מלבד עולת הבוקר, וישחט את השור ואת העיל, זבח שלמים אשר לעם, וימציאו בני אהרון את הדם אליו, ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב, ואת החלבים מן השור ומן העיל, העלייה והמכסה והכליות, ויותרת הכבד, וישימו את החלבים על הזאת, ויקטר החלבים המזבחה, ואת הזאת ואת שוק הימין הניף אהרון תנופה לפני יחווה כאשר ציווה משה, וישא אהרון את ידיו אל העם ויברכם, וירד מעשות החטאת והעולה והשלמים, ויבוא משה ואהרון אל אוהל מועד, ויצאו ויברכו את העם, וירא כבוד יחווה אל כל העם, ותצא אש מלפני יחווה ותאכל את המזבח, את העולה ואת החלבים, וירא כל העם וירונו ויפלו על פניהם. Excuse me for 1 second. Come here, you. Come here. Come here. Okay. Chapter 10. ויקחו בני אהרון נדב ואביהו איש מחתתו, ויתנו בהם אש, וישימו עליה קטורת, ויקריבו לפני יחווה אש זרה, אשר לא ציווה אותם, ותצא אש מלפני יחווה ותאכל אותם, וימותו לפני יחווה. Verse 3. ויאמר משה אל אהרון, הוא אשר דיבר יחווה, לאמור בקרובי הקודש ועל פני כל העם אכבד, וידום אהרון. ויקרא משה אל מישאל ואל צפן בני עוזיאל דוד אהרון, ויאמר עליהם, קרבו שאו את אחיכם מאת בני הקודש אל מחוץ למחנה. Verse 5. ויקריבו ויסעום בקטנותם אל מחוץ למחנה כאשר דיבר משה. ויאמר משה אל אהרון ולאלעזר ולאיתמר בניו, ראשיכם אל תפרעו ובגדיהם לא תפרמו ולא תמותו, ועל כל העדה יקצוף ואחיהם כל בית ישראל יבכו את השרפה אשר שרף יחווה. Verse 7. ומפתח אוהל מועד לא תצאו, פן תמותו כי שמן משחת יחווה עליכם, יעשו כדבר משה. וידבר יחווה אל אהרון לאמור, יין ושחר על דשת אתה ובניך, פתח בבואכם אל אוהל מועד, ולא תמותו, חוקת עולם לדורותיכם. הוא להבדיל בין הקודש, בין החול, ובין הטמא ובין הטהור, ולהורות את בני ישראל את כל החוקים אשר דיבר יחווה עליהם ביד משה. Verse 12. וידבר משה אל אהרון ואל אלעזר ואל איתמר בניו הנותרים, קחו את המנחה הנותרת מאישי יחווה ואכלוה, מעשות אצל המזבח כי קודש קודשים היא. ואכלתם אותה במקום קדוש, כי חגך וחג בניך היא מאישי יחווה, כי כן סובתי. ועת חזה התנופה, ועת שוק התרומה, תאכלו במקום טהור אתה ובניך ובנותיך איתך, כי חגך וחג בניך ניתנו מזבחי שלמי בני ישראל. Verse 15. שוק התרומה וחזה התנופה על אישי החלבים, יביאו לחניף תנופה לפני יחווה, וחיה לך ולבניך איתך לחוק עולם כאשר ציווה יחווה. Verse 16. ועת שעיר, check something here. Yeah. ועת שעיר החטאת דרש משה, וחיני שרף ויצוף על אלעזר ועל איתמר בני אהרון הנותרים לאמור, מדוע לא אכלתם את החטאת במקום הקודש, כי קודש קודשים היא, ואותה נתן לכם לשאת את עוון העדה לכפר עליהם לפני יחווה. Verse 18. הן לא הובא את דמה אל הקודש פנימה, אכול תאכלו אותה בקודש כאשר ציוויתי. וידבר אהרון אל משה, הן היום הקריבו את חטאתם ואת עולתם לפני יחווה, ותקראנה אותי כאלה, ואכלתי חטאת היום היטב בעיני יחווה, וישמע משה ויטב בעיניו. Okay, Leviticus 11, כשרות. מדבר יחווה אל משה ואל אחים. דברו אל בני ישראל לאמור, זאת החיה אשר תאכלו מכל הבהמה אשר על הארץ, כל מפרסת פרסה ושסעת שסע פרסות מעלת גרה בבהמה אותה תאכלו. Verse 4. אך את זה לא תאכלו ממעלה הגרה ומפרסי הפרסה את הגמל, כי מעלה גרה הוא ופרסה איננו מפריס, טמא הוא לכם. ואת השפן, כי מעלה גרה הוא ופרסה לא יפריס, טמא הוא לכם. ואת הארנבת, כי מעלת גרה היא ופרסה לא יפריסה, טמאה היא לכם. ואת החזיר, כי מפריס פרסה הוא ושסע פרסה והוא גרה לא יגר, טמא הוא לכם. מבשרם לא תאכלו ובנבלתם לא תיגעו לכם. ואת ונחלים אותם תאכלו. וכל אשר אינו סנפיר וקשקשת בימים. Sorry, I said במים ובימים, in verse 9. קשקשת במים ובנחלים מכל שרץ המים, מכל נפש החיה אשר במים, שקץ הם לכם, והשקץ יהיו לכם, מבשרם לא תאכלו, ואת נבלתם תשחטצו. כל אשר אינו סנפיר וקשקשת במים, שקץ הוא לכם. ואת אלה תשחטצו מן העוף, לא יאכלו, שקץ הם את הנשר, ואת הפרס, ואת האזנייה, ואת הדעה, ואת העיה למינה, את כל ערב למינו, ואת בת היענה, ואת התחמס, ואת השחף, ואת הנץ למינהו, ואת הכוס, ואת השלח, ואת הינשוף, ואת התנשמת, ואת הקעת, ואת הרחם, ואת החסידה הענפה למינה, ואת דוכיפת, ואת העטלף. כל שרץ העוף ההולך על 4, שקץ הוא לכם. כל שרץ העוף ההולך על 4, שקץ הוא לכם. אך את זה תאכלו מכל שרץ העוף ההולך על 4, אשר לא קרעים ממעל לרגליו לנטר בהם על הארץ. את אלה מהם תאכלו, את הערבה למינו, ואת הסלעים למינהו, ואת החרגול למינהו, ואת החגב למינהו, וכל שרץ העוף אשר לא 4 רגלים, שקץ הוא לכם. ולאלה תטמאו, כל הנוגע בנבלתם יטמא עד הערב. כל הנושא מנבלתם יכבס בגדיו וטמא עד הערב. ולכל הבהמה אשר היא מפרסת פרסה, ושסה איננו שוסעת, וגרה איננו מעלה, one second. טמאים הם לכם, כל הנוגע בהם יטמא. verse 27, וכל ההולך על כפיו, וכל החיה ההולכת על 4 טמאים הם לכם, כל הנוגע בנבלתם יטמא עד הערב. והנושא את נבלתם יכבס בגדיו וטמא עד הערב, טמאים המה לכם. וזה לכם הטמא בשרץ השורץ על הארץ, ההולך והעכבר והצב למיניהו. verse 30, וההנקה והכוח והליטאה והחומת והתנשמת, אלא הטמאים לכם בכל השרץ. כל הנוגע בהם במותם יטמא עד הערב. וכל אשר ייפול עליו מהם במותם יטמא, וכל כלי עץ או בגד או אור או שק, כל כלי אשר יעשה מלאכה בהם במים יובא וטמא עד הערב ויטהר. וכל כלי חרש אשר ייפול מהם אל תוכו, כל אשר בתוכו יטמא ואותו תשברו. מכל האוכל אשר יאכל יטמא, וכל משקה אשר ישתה בכל כלי יטמא, וכל אשר ייפול מנבלתם עליו יטמא, תנור וקריים לטוץ. טמאים הם וטמאים יהיו לכם, אך מעיין ובור מקווה מים יהיה טהור, ונוגע בנבלתם יטמא. וכי ייפול מנבלתם על כל זרוע אשר יזרע טהור הוא, וכי יותן מים על זרע ונפל מנבלתם עליו, טמא הוא לכם. וכי ימות מן הבהמה אשר היא לכם לאכלה הנוגע בנבלתה יטמע עד הערב, והאוכל מנבלתם יכבס בגדיו וטמא עד הערב, והנושא את נבלתם יכבס בגדיו וטמא עד הערב. וכל השרץ שורץ על הארץ, שקץ הוא לא יאכל, כל הולך על גחון וכל הולך על ארבע, עד כל מרבה רגליים לכל השרץ השורץ על הארץ, לא תאכלום ישקץ הם. אנ תשקצו את נפשותיכם בכל השרץ השורץ וכל תטמעו בהם ונטמאתם בם, כי אני יחווה אלוהיכם, והתקדישתם והייתם קדושים כי קדוש אני, ולא תטמאו את נפשותיכם בכל השרץ הרומס על הארץ, כי אני יחווה המעלה אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, והייתם קדושים כי קדוש אני. זאת תורת הבהמה והעוף, לכל נפש החיה הרומסת במים ולכל נפש השורצת על הארץ, להבדיל בין הטמא ובין הטהור, ובין החיה ונאכלת ובין החיה אשר לא תאכל. Okay, that is it. That is the end of Leviticus 11. And now we can go back. Well, since it's such a short parsha, I'm actually tempted to read through it again. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, okay, Bruce wants to join. 1 second here. Excuse me for 1 second. Okay. Alrighty. Just give me 1 second here, please. Okay, so let's go back to Leviticus 8. And I'm going to read through it one more time because it's a kind of a short parsha. And because it's a good way to kind of understand it, I like to read it a number of times. And since we still have plenty of time, that's what we're going to do. So we're back in Leviticus chapter 8. And then after that, we can start some analysis. So Leviticus 8, verse 1. וידבר יחווה אל משה לאמור, קח את אהרון ואת בניו איתו ואת אביהם ואת שמן המשחה ואת פר החטאת ואת שני האלים ואת סל המסות ואת כל העדה הקהל את פתח אוהל מועד, ויעש משה כאשר ציווה יחווה אותו, ותקהל העדה אל פתח אוהל מועד, ויאמר משה אל העדה, זה הדבר אשר ציווה יחווה לעשות. ויקרב משה אל אהרון ואת בניו, וירחץ אותם במים, ויתן עליו את כתונת, ויחגור אותו באבנת, וילבש אותו את המעיל, ויתן עליו את האפוד. Wait a second, I'm in the wrong one. I should be in Leviticus 9. Well, this is good because it'll get us no. One second. Okay, let's go to Leviticus 9. Or we'll start here. Okay? We'll start in Leviticus 8:30. ויקח משה משמן המשחה ומן הדם אשר על המזבח ויעז על אהרון על ביעדיו ועל בניו ועל בגדי בניו איתו ויעטש את אהרון את ביעדיו ואת בניו ואת בגדי בניו איתו. Verse 31. ויאמר משה אל אהרון ואל בניו בשלו את הבשר פתח אוהל מועד ושם תאכלו אותו ואת הלחם אשר בסל המילואים אשר ציוויתי לאמור אהרון ובניו יאכלוהו. Verse 32. והנותר בבשר ובלחם באש תשרפו ומפתח אוהל מועד לא תצאו 7 ימים עד מות מלאות ימי מילוכם כי 7 ימים ימלא את ידכם. So this is important here. So verse 33 says, start in 31, ויאמר משה אל אהרון ואל בניו. So Moshe said to Aaron and his sons, but he has 4 sons, בשלו את הבשר פתח אוהל מועד. So sieve the meat at the entrance of the tent of meeting. ושם תאכלו אותו ואת הלחם, and there you shall eat it, ואת הלחם אשר בסל המילואים, and also the bread, which is in the sal is this in English again, basket, miluim. The basket of miluim would be translated as consecration. The basket of consecration, because it's the basket in which the mincha, the grain offering, is being brought for the consecration of Aaron and his sons. Kasher tziweti lemor Aaron umanav yochluhu. Okay, verse 32. And anything that's left over from the meat or from the bread shall be burned in the fire. And from out of the entrance of the tent of meeting, you shall not go for 7 days. And this is going to become important in the story of Nadav and Avihu. Ad yom milot yemei miluchem. Until the day of the fulfillment of the days of your consecration. Because for 7 days you shall be inaugurated or be consecrated. You shall be consecrated. And that which is being done today was commanded by Yahweh to do in order to atone for you. Okay, so for 7 days, you have this consecration, this miluim, or this inauguration of the Levites. And so Aaron and his sons have to stay within the confines of the Ohel Moed for 7 days. פתח אוהל מועד, תשבו יומם ולילה 7 ימים, ושמרתם את משמרת יהוה ולא תמותו כי כן צוויתי. And at the entrance of the tent of meeting, you should sit day and night for 7 days, and therefore keep the guard of Yahweh v'lo tamutu, and do not die, because that so I have commanded. And so Aaron and his sons did all of that. Okay, now we get to this week's parsha. So let's do it. Verse 1, Wahi b'yom Shemini. So now this is the 8th day. Right? So there were 7 days of consecration. This is the 8th day. This is the day now that Aaron and his sons can leave. They fulfilled their miluim. They fulfilled their inauguration or consecration. So, Wahi b'yom Shemini qara Moshe le'Aaron u'levanav u'lezeknei Yisrael. So on the 8th day, after this consecration, after the beginning of the consecration ritual, and basically the end of the consecration ritual, Moshe called to Aaron and to his sons and to the elders of Israel. Vayomer el Aaron kach lecha egel ben makar lehatat. So now he says to Aaron, you have to take an egel, a bull, ben bakar, the hatat as a sin offering, or as Robert Alter translates that as, he has a nice translation for that, an atonement offering, I think he calls it. Let's see again how he refers to it. So this is Leviticus 9:2. An offense offering, that's what he calls it. He explains his reasoning, which I thought was nice reasoning. Okay. So an offense offering or sin offering is usually translated as so bring the sin offering as offense offering. Verse 3, so Aaron brings this sin offering, and now the children of Israel bring a goat, Sa'ir Azim. Sa'ir is a kid, Azim is goat, so kid of the goats, Lahatat, Wa'il, Egel, or Keves, B'nei Shonat Mimim Le'ola. So they have to bring that. They have to bring an Egel. Egel is a calf. And they have to bring a Keves, a lamb. B'nei Shonat Mimim Le'ola. Shor, Wa'il, Shlamim. So Shor is, so that's for a burnt offering. Shor. You know what? I think I'm going to add another one of my, because there's so many. Add another one of my little sheets to the spreadsheet. So let's call this one animal names. And let's get exact translations. Just put this under my translations, but no, that really has a different meaning. So we're going to call this, well, just copy it. We'll call this animal names or animal terms. Really need verse, Hebrew word. And we can just do translation here. We get rid of this column. And then we can just have comments. And I don't think we need verse either. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Yeah, we could leave a verse. Well, that's what occurs. Okay. Comments. Okay, so let's do this. Let's do it this way. Okay, so the first thing, El Aaron emo dabru el bnei Israel emo zot haya asher oh, that's Leviticus 11. Okay, so kakalcha egel. So what is an egel exactly, precisely? There's so many of these different animal names that all gets mixed up, and then there's modern Hebrew, which has a different meanings. So egel in modern Hebrew is going to be a calf, as it is in biblical Hebrew, right? If you want to eat like what are they called, baby veal, they call it an egel. Okay. So let's see here. Egel. Right. So a calf implies a baby, right? Let's add that. So we're going to take our first one. So this is Leviticus 9:1. Okay, the Hebrew word is egel. Okay, translation calf. And we should say maybe add another column here, actually. Insert one column left. Species. Sometimes it can mean multiple species. So let's see here. Right, so the egel masicha, the molten calf, but how they usually call it, the golden calf, right? Calf. Again. Calves of people. Okay. All right, we're gonna leave it as calf. Male calf is frisking around, especially one nearly grown. A steer or bullock calf. Let's see how Robert Alter translates that one. Also as a calf. And I would imagine that Everett Fox also does. So this is Leviticus 9. This is a calf, a young of the herd. Okay, so egel, we're going to translate as calf. Species, I'm going to leave as herd for now, although it may include the flock. We'll talk about that meaning later. Herd, actually, I should add bakar. No, yeah. Species or type, I can add. Species. Herd, no, let's leave species. Okay, so herd usually implies we'll just leave it like that for now. Okay. So actually, maybe I'll put Ben Bakar here. Oops. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Let's leave it as herd. Okay, so here's our egel. Egel is a calf. Okay. Then we have in the same verse, we have the word bakar. Comments. Let's see, in this verse uses the phrase egel ben bakar. Okay. All right, then we also have bakar. So bakar is usually translated as herd. Oops. Get over here, you. So bakar is usually translated as herd, as opposed to the flock. So the tzon is sheep and goats. The bakar is what we would call cow. Actually, male, I guess, and female. So let's see how they translate it here. Oh, there's Bruce. Bruce? Hello? Bruce? Let's try this. I see you, but I don't hear you, and it says your microphone has to be connected or something like that. Let's try this again. So I don't know if you can hear me, but you can. Okay, I can't hear you. It's just something about, all right, I'm trying to unmute your mic. Can't unmute your guest. Can't unmute your guest. Their mic is not connected. Okay. Well, if you can connect up your mic somehow or another, then you could talk. Otherwise, you're just going to have to use sign language. I'm sorry, but your music won't sound as good if your microphone is muted. I know some people whose music would sound better if their microphones are muted, but in that case, definitely, in your case, that definitely does not apply. We like your music. We love your music. Okay, so I don't know if you can work it out, then so be it. If not, then what we're doing here is we have all of these animal phrases. So I have all of these spreadsheets. Oh, I should rename this animal terms. Rename animal terms. And oops. And I'd like to get a definitive list of what all these terms mean because they're thrown around all the time. So we're on bakar now. So we see that bakar is usually translated, it's usually translated as herd, okay? Cattle, herd, ox. Okay. So I'm going to leave it as herd. And the species is, we know, is a cow, is one of them, right? Let's just look, cow. Both tortoise, a domestic equivalent herbivores. So what should we call it? Cattle? I don't know. See, even my English terms are not so good because I'm not an animal expert when it comes to that kind of those kinds of animals. Okay, so we'll call it herd, species, cattle. Okay, so that's that. All right, so let's get back to this. So here we have, so Aaron and his sons have finished the 7 days of Miluim. No, not the army service, but 7 days of consecration to God. And now it's the 8th day. That's why this parsha is called Shemini. Shemini. So now Aaron has to take an egel, which is a calf, ben bakar, son of a cow or a bull. In fact, let's put it this way. Let's see, cattle. A little bit clearer. Okay. Okay, lechatat wa'ayil. So what is an ayil? A ram. Let's add that to our list. Is that Leviticus 9:2? Oh, these are all 9:2, not 9:1. So this is 9-2. And then this is 9-2. This is 9-2. This is 9-2. Ram. So what's a ram? Sheep, ram, Wikipedia. So ram is a male sheep. Fine, so let's add that. So ram, species, sheep, male sheep, sheep, male, sheep. That's what a ram is. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so that is what Aaron. So again, my goal here in doing this tab in the spreadsheet is to once and for all get all these names under control. We have so many animal names floating around, and sometimes they have different names in modern Hebrew than they do in biblical Hebrew. So let's make a list so we can refer to it if we see a term like egel or bakar or ayel or seir or ez, all of these different things, right? So that's that. So verse 3, so here's two more phrases. We have Sa'ir and we have Izim. So first one is Sa'ir, and that's in Leviticus 9:3. Let's grab it and go over here. Leviticus 9:3. And Sa'ir is usually translated as a kid, right? So let's take a look at that just to make sure. Devil, Harry, Hebuk goat, Satyr demon, because of the devil, goat, hairy, kid, rough, satyr. So we're going to go with kid, meaning a baby goat. I think. Kid, baby, goat. And then we have Bezim. Oops. Seir Izim. So Seir Izim is goats, of course. So Ez is a female goat, according to this. She goat. Okay, so Seir Izim, so a kid among the female goats, I guess. Okay. So let's grab this one. Ez. Get over here. And this is also Leviticus 9:3. No, that's Leviticus 9:3. This is a female goat. Okay. Species goat. Alrighty. And we can always modify this later if one of the reasons, for one reason or another, it doesn't work out. Okay, lechatat. So this is brought as a sin offering, or again, as Robert also translates that as an offense offering, and he gives his reasoning. I like that translation. Egel. So egel, we already said, is a where's our list? An egel is a calf, so baby. Species goat. Actually, let's put it like this: baby goat. Okay. So egel, we said, is a calf. So this would be like a baby cow. No, we know what a calf means. Let's put the word baby. Whatever, it's the word baby. Okay. So then we have here an egel. Or keves. So here's another new word. So keves is usually translated as a lamb. So a lamb, I guess, would imply a baby sheep only. But we can always modify this later. So we bring this over here. Oops. So this is Leviticus 9:3. And this would be a sheep. Okay. B'nei shanat mimi mil'ola shor. So now we have the word shor. Not shor, shor. It's usually translated as a bull. So I guess this would be a male without emphasis on sex. As opposed to bakar. So a single head of cattle without emphasis on sex. It's a shor. So this is now Leviticus 9:4. So now we could let's do it this way. Left. Left. Translation. Let's do sex and age. Again. So I think this could be either male or female. I think this bakar can be either male or female also. Ram, I think, is only male. Oops. Kid, I believe this can be male or female. Sa'ir. Although we could always modify this later. And Ez is a female goat, so this is female. So a lamb, kevis, I think could be either male or female, but there's also another one, kivsa. So maybe that's, but I'll leave it as, I'm not sure whether kevis could be male or female. I'll leave it as male or female for now. Among sheep and shor. So now we see, according to Strong's at least, that shor just means a head of cattle without emphasis on sex. So it could be either male or female. And you should translate this as right, head of cattle. Translate it like this: one of the herd. Male or female. Species. It's not a species, but herd. Species. Category. The herd. Okay, fine. Let's close this out. Let's close this out. Go back to here. Island, we already said, is a ram. So looking here, a ram is a isle. Here we go. This is a male sheep. All right, so age, we can say young, any, I guess. Young, let's get any. Okay, so there we go. Should make this a little bit larger. Yeah, it's easier to see, I guess, on the screen. Okay. Al Shlamim. Shlamim is usually translated as a peace offering. Lizbach lifnei Yahweh umincha. Hulad bashamen ki hayom Yahweh nira elechem. So now on the 8th day, we're bringing all these sacrifices. Both Aaron and the Israelites in general are bringing these sacrifices. Excuse me. ויקחו את אשר ציווה משה אל פני אוהל מועד ויקרבו כל העדה ויעמדו לפני יהוה ויאמר משה זה הדבר אשר ציווה יהוה תעשו וירא אליכם כבוד יהוה ויאמר משה אל אהרון קרב אל המזבח ועשה את חטאתך ואל עולתך וכפר בעדך ובעד העם. So this is all meant to be a chaper. It's meant to be atonement, right? I guess against defiling the sanctuary in general is what these things refer to when it refers to atonement in reference to the tabernacle, to the Mishkan. وَسَئِتْ قُرْبَانَ ha'am وَخَپِر ba'adam kasher tziwah Yahweh. All right, وَيْكْرِv Aaron el hamizbeach. So we had three things here, right? So we had a So we had a sin offering, another sin offering for all the people, and a peace offering. So here we have the sin offering being brought. We הקרב אהרון el hamizbeach וישחט את הרגל Et egel, again, what is egel? Egel is a baby calf, right? Hachatat asher lo, and that was what was commanded up above, right? Verse 2. Why yakrivu b'nei Aaron et Adam elav ויטבול אצבעו בדם וייתן על קרנות המזבח ואת הדם יצק על יסוד המזבח. So pour out the blood, rub some on the on the horns, the corners of the altar, and then it min akaved. So all of the chalev, right, the basically the entrails, I guess you could say, are burnt on the altar. כשת ציוות יהוה את משה ואת הבשר ואת האור שרף באש מחוץ למחנה. And so in this case, the rest is not consumed. It's brought outside the camp and burnt. And I think if we go back, I'm not going to do it now, but if we go back, that's the rule. That's the general rule for sin offering. All right, let's take a look for a second. I think that's Leviticus 2. Sin offering. No, it's grain offering. Leviticus 3. That's peace offering. Leviticus 4, sin offerings. So we'll just go to the English for a second. So this is what happens with sin offering. Here. But the hide of the bull and all its flesh, as well as the head and the legs, the internal organs, and the intestines, that is, all the rest of the bull, you must take outside the camp to a place ceremonially clean where the ashes are thrown. We spoke about that also, that the ashes are cleaned out every morning and thrown outside the camp, and burn it there in a wood fire on the ash heap. Okay? So there's another place outside the camp. We spoke about this. The altar is kept burning, or fire is kept burning on the altar all day and all night, and in the morning, the Kohen comes and takes the ashes and I think puts them on a certain side. I can't remember now. I'd have to go back and look at it. But on one side of the altar, then eventually takes them out of the camp to this clean place. So that's what we're talking about here. So since it's the sin offering, it's not eaten. It's not like a peace offering or one of the other offerings where it's eaten, right? So the sin offering, the fat, which always goes on the altar, it's given to where the blood is already thrown away. The fat goes onto the altar because that's always God's part. And then in the case of the sin offering, the rest is taken outside the camp and burnt. Nobody eats a sin offering because it's like a negative offering, right? Sin offering, or a again, what did Robert Alter call it? An offense offering. So this is basically following the laws of the sin offering as laid down in Leviticus 4. Okay, now we have the burnt offering. We know with the burnt offering, everything is completely burnt on the altar. וישחטת עולה וימצאו בני אהרון אליו את הדם ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב ואת העולה ימציאו אליו לנתחיה ואת הראש ויקטר על המזבח. So everything is burnt on the altar. ויחץ את הקרב ואת הקרעים ויקטר על העולה המזבח. So everything is burnt on the altar. So does it even mention of bringing a burnt offering here? I don't remember it saying a burnt offering per se. This is a chatat. Okay. At any rate, the offerings for the people, יקרב את קורבן העם ייקח את השעיר החטאת אשר לעם וישחטו ויחטאו כראשון. So now they take a sa'ir. So this is the offering for the people that's mentioned here. Where is it? Here, verse 3. K'hu sa'ir izim. Take a sa'ir. Again, we said is now, sa'ir is a baby kid among the goats as a sin offering. Wa'egel, keves b'nei shana. So egel is a, look back here. We didn't add egel. Oh, we did. A baby calf. and a keves. We said is a lamb, so kid and a lamb, right? Keves is a baby lamb. Okay. So they have to take an seir, which is a baby goat, an agel, which is a baby calf, and a keves and a baby lamb. So 3 babies. Throwing 3 baby animals on the fire. I don't know what baby means, right? It says ben bakar. I don't know what age. I think usually up to a year, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Here it says Bnei Shana, so a year-old, yearling. You should translate that as. Okay. At any rate, so they took it and they placed it on the altar. ויקרב את העולה ויעשها כמשפט. ויקרב את המנחה וימלא כפו ממנה ויקטר אל המזבח. So there's a handful, right? Yemale kapo. So a handful is thrown onto the altar, and the rest, for a grain offering, 1 handful is taken, thrown on the altar as a remembrance. Zikaron. Excuse me. And then the rest is eaten by the Kohanim. Midvad olat boker. And also the morning offering, which we spoke about last week. So the shor, so again we said a shor is one of the herd, and it could be a male or female, right? And the ayil is a ram, so it's going to be a male goat, a male sheep, maybe also a goat. I'm not sure, but we'll leave it as sheep for now. In fact, let's look again and see if it also includes goat. Fair ram, wool, skipping, leaping. So we looked it up, and the word ram, at least in English, and that meant only a sheep, right? Not a goat. Okay. זבח שלמים אשר לעם ימצאו בני אהרון את הדם אליו ויזרקהו על המזבח סביב. So this is for shlamim, so this is for a peace offering. ואת החלבים מן השור ומן העיל, עלייה מכסה כליות ויותר את הכבד. So these various fats are being thrown onto the altar. וישימו את החלבים על החזות. So the fats are being burnt on the altar. ואת החזות ואת שוק הימין הניף אהרון תנופה לפני יהוה כאשר ציווה משה. So then the are waved as tnufa, a waving or an up and down, an elevation offering. They sometimes refer to it as before Yahweh, as Moshe commanded. And we'd have to look up again. Is that what happens with shlamim? Maybe we should look it up. So this is a peace offering. What happens with a peace offering? I think that's fellowship offering. Hebrew. Right. So they're calling it a fellowship offering here. So what happens? We read this in last week's or 2 weeks ago's Parsha, right? Presented before the Lord an animal with defect. You lay your hand on the head of your offering and slaughter at the entrance to the sides of the altar from the fellowship offering. You to bring a food offering to the Lord, the internal organs, etc. Then Aaron's sons are to burn it on the altar, so the fat is placed on the altar. So here we go. Then Aaron's son shall splash its blood inside the altar. Blah, blah, blah. Again, so the fat is thrown on the altar. Again, if it's a goat, the same thing. So it doesn't say what happened to the rest of the animals. Splashed its blood. The priest would burn them on the altar as food offering, a pleasant aroma. All the fat is the Lord's. So that's a very important point, that the chalev, or these various fat parts, are always go to God. They're never eaten. And let me just see something here. That's the grain offering. Okay, so it doesn't say what happened to the rest of the peace offering. And then we go into the sin offering, etc. So what we have here is that Enif Aaron Tnufa lifnei Yahweh kasher tziva Moshe. So I'm trying to find where it says this. Where is the rest of the peace offering supposed to be waved or elevated? So let's look. Let's look up this word Tnufa and see if it occurs elsewhere in Leviticus. So Leviticus 7:30. So let's look at Leviticus 7:30. Let's see what we have there. Let's keep it in English for now. Okay, so I'll just read the English to make it go quick. Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, anyone who brings a fellowship offering to the Lord is to bring part of it as their sacrifice to the Lord. With their own hands, they present the food offering to the Lord. So there's a fellowship or shlamim. They're to bring the fat together with the breast and wave the breast. So here we have, this is where you're supposed to do it. So it's waved, okay? They're to bring the fat together with the breast and wave the breast before the Lord as a wave offering. The priest shall burn the fat on the altar, but the breast belongs to Aaron and his sons. You give the right thigh of your fellowship offerings to the priest as contribution. Son of Aaron, who offers the blood and the fat of the fellowship offering, shall have the right thigh as a share. From the fellowship offerings of the Israelites, I have taken the breast that is waved and the thigh that is presented, have given them to Aaron, the priest, and his sons as a perpetual share from the Israelites. This is the portion of the food offerings presented to the Lord that were allotted to Aaron and his sons on the day they were presented to serve the Lord as priests, etc. Okay, so there we have it. So it's on Leviticus 7. Right, so anyone who eats the fat of an animal from which a food offering may be presented to the Lord must be cut off from their people. So the fat belongs to Yahweh always. Okay? Wherever you live, you must not eat the blood of any bird or animal. Anyone who eats the blood must be cut off from their people. Interesting. So it's bird here. I forgot that. Let me just look in the Hebrew. It's at 7:26. Okay, so there it says it explicitly. At any rate, yes. So this peace offering, not the peace offering. With the peace offering, or the fellowship offering, then so what is it? The breast and the thigh go to Aaron and his sons, and I guess the rest is eaten by the person who brought it because it's kind of a peace offering, right? It's like a peace pipe kind of ceremony. At any rate, the sacrificial system is long and complicated, and you really have to be an expert in it, which is why that was the job of the Kohanim and the Levites to be experts in the system. If we really want to understand it, we should kind of make charts and spreadsheets and stuff like that, and refer back to them. Too bad they didn't have Google Sheets back in ancient times. It would have probably been a lot easier. Okay, I'm going to take a break for just a minute because I have to go get my charger, and I'll put on music for just a second, and then we'll be back.
There are there's the sun of the darkness, by the sea, to sing. They are watching, they are weak, some strength. Casting stones on the slumbering heaps, we are dancing as in sea. Riding the you can feel its gentle hand, leading on to its destiny. Through the night, take me with you on this journey, where the boundaries of time are not us. In cathedrals of the forest, in the words of the tongues lost, find the answers, ask the questions, find the roots of the new ancient tree. Take me dancing, take me singing, I'll ride on till the moon meets the sea. Through the night, Through the night, right through the night,
Okay, welcome back. This is Hakham Melech Ben Yaakov of the World Alliance of Qara'im, and we will continue the Torah study. So let me share the screen a little bit differently. And there we go. Okay, so we were in Leviticus 9. And we'd spoken about the peace offering, about waving the peace offering, the Tnufa. Verse 22, Vayisa Aaron et yadao el ha'am yivarchem wa ired me'asot hatat wa ashlamim. Okay, so Aaron blesses the people, and then he comes down from doing the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the peace offering. Verse 23, Vayavo Moshe wa Aaron el ohel mo'ed vayitzu yivarchu. Excuse me, et ha'am. We are Yahweh el kol ha'am. So the glory of God was shown to all the people. ותצא אש מלפני יהוה ותאכל את המזבח את העולה ואת החלבים ואת ירא כל העם וירונו ויפלו על פניהם. So fire came out from God and ate and consumed the altar. Or consumed that which was on the altar, the burnt offerings and the fats, and all of the people saw and they rejoiced. Yaronu shouted, Wayiplu al panem, and they fell upon their faces. So what does this mean? The glory of Yahweh appeared. Let's just look this up because this phrase is used in other places. So in Exodus 16:7, وَأُرَأَيْتَمْ et kavod Yahweh b'sham'o. Right, so speaking of, that's the one second, we should go on. So this is all on Mount Sinai. The appearance, let's look at one. Let's just look at Exodus 16:7 for a second. And it says, "V'boker ra'aytem et kavod Yahweh b'sham'o et tlunotechem al Yahweh v'nachanu ma ki talinu aleinu." So this is in the waters where the Israelites are complaining in Midibah, 16:7. ויאמר משה בתית יחווה אליכם ערב בשר לאכול ולחם בבוקר לסבוע בשמוע יחווה את תלונותיכם. Oh, I'm sorry, this is with the complaining about the food. מלינים עליו ונחנו מה לא עלינו תלונתכם כי על יחווה ויאמר משה אל אהרון אמור כל עדת בני ישראל קרבו לפני יחווה כי שמע את תלונותיכם. So in this case the glory of God is that he's going to bring them food. Okay, so I guess it's kind of a general term. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged down on that. Let's move on to Leviticus 10. And now we have Nadav and Avihu. And I will read through Leviticus 10. Well, let's do a little analysis here, or let's do a little bit of commentary. Let's see what Robert Alter has to say on chapter 9. Okay. So he says regarding verse 1, go back to chapter 9. Waihi b'yom hashmini, right? So he's referring to this word waihi. And it happened. This formula waihi is characteristically used to mark the beginning of the unit of narrative, right? So now we finish with the laws of the sacrifices. So the present chapter completes the cultic narration inaugurated in chapter 7. Okay, so that's what he's talking about. Right. So we're done with the inauguration, not with the laws. The laws are earlier, right? So basically, we break down Leviticus. We have Leviticus 1. So we have the laws for the burnt offering. So Leviticus 1, then the grain offerings, peace offerings, sin offerings, and other sin offerings, guilt offering. So this is where they, wait a second. Okay, so more. Priest portion. So one second here. So this is inaugurated, the cultic narration inaugurated in chapter 7. So where in chapter 7? So these are just still fat and blood forbidden, the peace offering, the guilt offering. So really in chapter 8 is when it begins. Okay. So so this is now the consecration or the inauguration of Aaron and his sons in chapter 8. So chapters 1 through 7 of Leviticus are all the laws about the sacrifices. Chapters 8 and 9, I guess we could say chapter 8 really is the inauguration. That's what we read before. And chapter 9, I guess, is the end of the inauguration period, and now we have on the 8th day. So this is like the end of the inauguration period and the conclusion of the inauguration, we could say. So what is Robert Alter trying to say here? The present chapter completes cultic narration inaugurated in chapter 7 after the rite of consecration of the altar and of Aaron and his sons and the prescribed 7 days of the installation periods. Priests are ritually fit to perform the sacrifices which are reported here. Right. Okay. Not sure exactly what his point is, but it doesn't matter. At any rate, both unblemished. So this is verse 2. So this is Leviticus 7:2. No, Leviticus 9:2. Unblemished. That's what he's referring to here. Right. Okay. So he's just saying, he adds in his English translation the word both unblemished to clarify that the tamimim, because it's in the plural, tamimim, not tamim, but tamimim is plural. It's referring to egel ben bakar, lechatat wa'al olah. That's referring to both of these things, to the egel ben bakar. So egel, we said, is a calf of the herd, and the ram, which is a male sheep, okay, tmimim. So both of these have to be unblemished. So that's all he's saying there. For today, the Lord will appear before you, as Jacob Milgram observes. The revelation of God before all the people renders the tabernacle the equivalent of Mount Sinai. Mary Douglas goes further, seeking a precise structural correspondence in the system of analogical thinking between Sinai and the tabernacle. Each is divided into three gradated zones of holiness: the Sinai summit, where only Moses may ascend, partway up the mountain, where the 70 elders come and are vouchsafed an epiphany, and the bottom of the mountain, where the people remain. Corresponding to these vertically deployed zones are the horizontal zones of the tabernacle, from the Holy of Holies to the inner court to the outer court. What is striking is that in Exodus, God's manifestation of his fiery presence to the people comes from a divine initiative associated with the revelation of the Decalogue, whereas in the priestly document it is ritual, the scrupulous performance of the sacrifice of Aaron and his son, that brings about the great epiphany. Okay, interesting point. So I don't know if it's true, but it's an interesting point. So whoever Mary Douglas is, sounds like someone who came on the Mayflower, but whoever she is, so she's saying that Mount Sinai was broken down into three zones. There's the top of the mountain where Moses can ascend, and then the 70 elders come up part way of the mountain, but not all the way up to the top. And then at the bottom of the mountain, that's where all the people remain. And so likewise in the tabernacle, we have the inner sanctum, the Kadosh Kadoshim, the Holy of Holies. We have the Kadosh, that's the outer sanctum. That's where the showbread altar is, and the showbread table, and the menorah, and the incense altar. And then we have the courtyard, and that's where the common people can come to bring their sacrifices, right? So inside the inner sanctum, only Kohanim can go, and inside the inner sanctum, only the Kohen can go, Gadol can go, and only on Yom Kippurim. Okay. Verse 6. So verse 6 says, "V'yomer Moshe zeh davar asher tzivua Yahweh tasu yar yareh elechem kavod Yehovah." So Moshe says this is the thing that shall do it, and the glory of Yahweh will appear to you. Okay, so let's see what is Robert Alter trying to say here. Some commentators assume that asher, that between charged and you shall do, has been inadvertently omitted. So, in other words, what he's saying here, where were we? We're in verse 6. Charged and you shall do. Moshe zeh davar asher tziva Yahweh asher ta'asu. He's saying that there's been the word asher omitted right here. Okay. And some commentators say that. Okay. Poured forward the blood to him. All right, let's go to this one over here. Provided him, verse 12. See. So what does verse 12 say? Wa yishchat et ha'olah, and he slaughtered the burnt offering. Wa yamtzi'u b'nei Aaron elav. So wa yishchat, I assume, is referring to Aaron himself. So Aaron slaughtered the burnt offering. Wa yamtzi'u b'nei Aaron elav et hadam. Right, let's get the Krev Aaron אל המזבח וישחט את העגל החטאת אשר לו ויקריבו בני אהרון את הדם אליו ויטבול אצבע בדם וייתן על קרנות המזבח ואת הדם יצק אל יסוד המזבח ואת החלב. Okay, ישחט את העולה, right? So the context here is referring to Aaron. ימסיעו בני אהרון אליו את הדם. So then I guess, right, so he's saying וימסיעו, okay, from limtso matzah, to find, but this is the he feel form, so it's to make him find, or in this case to bring. So what it's saying here is that the use of this word we'amsiu, which is in the he feel, the causative form, is implying that the children of Aaron's sons who are serving with him, brought him the blood. وَيِزْرَكَهُ al mizbech saviv, and Aaron tossed it or poured it onto the around the altar. So I think that's Robert Alter's point. Okay, he's just pointing out this word imsi, which is only used in this chapter. Okay. The covering fat. Okay, we're going to skip that. So verse 20. Wayasinu et halavim. So he says the word halavim here is in the plural. Al hazot wayakter halavim hamizbeha. So he placed the fats on the breast and burnt the fats on the altar. So what is the point here? Verse 20, the fat he here, and at a couple of other points in the chapter, the fat is in the plural, halavim, indicating the fat stripped from the sundry inner organs. Milgram consequently represents this in English as pieces of fat. Okay, so he's just pointing out that it says halavim in plural rather than the halev, which it often says the fat. It says the fats. Okay. And verse 22. So Aaron blesses the people, and I was thinking the same thing, right? Because it says when Aaron blesses the people, it's supposed to use the priestly blessing. We can take a look at that for a second. Close this out. Close this out. So that is in Numbers 6:23 through 27. So let's check that out. Numbers 6. All right. Verse 22, וידבר יחווה אל משה לאמור, דבר אל אהרון ואל בניו לאמור, כה תברכו את בני ישראל, אמור להם. So this is how you shall bless the children of Israel. So this is the blessing. But is it implying that blessing was given here? So that's the speculation. That's what Robert Alter is saying, that some of the commentators say that that was a blessing that was given here. However, I don't think that's necessarily implied from this verse at all. In fact, we'd have to see within the context of the time when this law was given. And we're not going to do that now. Okay, so but a common view, and this common view is from late antiquity, the Sifra onwards, they pronounce tripartite priestly blessing. All right. Fire came out from before the Lord. The cloud of the divine glory is luminescent, enveloping the fire into which it turns at night. Okay, here the emergence of the fire is a dramatic sign of God's self-revelation and of divine favor in accepting sacrifice. In the next episode, when cultic procedures violated, the same fire from the Lord will be lethal. Okay, so we have so the cloud is during the day, the fire is at night. So during the day, the cloud covers the fire, right? Enveloping the fire in which it turns at night. I'm not sure where he's getting that from, although it might say that. I'll have to look back and see, but I'm not going to do it now. All right, so that's that. Now we're up to chapter 10 with Nadav and Avihu. And maybe what I'll just do is read through chapter 10, and then we can continue commentary on it this afternoon. But really on this afternoon, I want to focus on chapter 11, which is Kashrut, quote unquote. Kashrut. Okay. All right, so let's read chapter 10 here. Vaychu b'nei Aaron Nadav Avihu ish machtato. You should translate this as censer, SCENSER, like a pan, basically. Vaytnu bahem ish. וישימו עליה קטורת, ויקריבו לפני יחווה אש זרה אשר לא ציווה אותם, ותצא אש מלפני יחווה, ותאכל אותם, וימותו לפני יחווה. So, Nadav and Avihu. Nadav tries to be a little bit too nadiv. He tries to be a little bit too generous, and he decides to bring a sacrifice. But it's not commanded. And so Nadav and Avihu, the two sons of Aaron, are put to death, right? And so let's just get let's look at Aaron again. His 4 sons. All right, so those are his oldest sons, Nadav and Avihu. Let me just see something right here. All right, so Nadav and Avihu are the 2 oldest sons of Aaron. So Aaron has 4 sons, right? Elazar, Itamar, or Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, and Itamar and Elazar. So let's see. Look here. So Aaron. So that's the order right there. Nadav, Avihu, Elazar, and Itamar are the 4 sons of Aaron. So we don't hear much really about Nadav and Avihu, do we? Let's just see here. So here in Leviticus 10, we're hearing about them. Really for the first time, aside from when they're mentioned back in Exodus. So if we look at Exodus 28:1. ותקרב אליך את אהרון אחיך ואת בניו איתו מתוך בני ישראל, לכהנו לי אהרון נדב ואביהו אלעזר ואיתמר בני אהרון. Okay. So they are mentioned there. Let's go back a little bit. Exodus 6:23. This is just giving the genealogy. ויקח אהרון את אלישבע בת עמינדב אחות נחשון. One second. לא לאישה ותלה לו את נדב ואת אביהו ואת אלעזר ואת איתמר. So here are the 4 sons of Aaron. Oops. And we have in Exodus 24:1. ואל משה אמר עלה אל יחווה אתה ואהרון נדב ואביהו שבעים מזקני ישראל והשתחוויתם מרחוק וניגש משה לבדו אל יחווה והם לא ייגשו והעם לא יעלו עמו. So this is what we were just talking about before, about those three levels on Mount Sinai. Ironically, that Robert Alter was quoting someone named, I don't know, Jane Austen or something like that, referring to the mountain being divided into three parts, just as the tabernacle is divided into three parts. So here's actually this verse right here. But what I'm really trying to see is, one more time here. So Nadav, they're really not mentioned that much. Now let's look at, one second. So let's see one thing here. Let's look at Eleazar. So the two youngest sons, Eleazar and Itamar, so this is the genealogy right here of Aaron. Okay, I guess they're not mentioned too much either. Exodus 28:1. ותע קרב אליך את אהרון אחיך ואת בניו איתו מתוך בני ישראל לכהנו לי אהרון נדב ואביהו אלעזר ואיתמר בני אהרון. Okay, for some reason I thought that Eleazar and Itamar were mentioned more than Nadav and Avihu, but I guess the reason is Nadav and Avihu died, and really they're being mentioned later on, right? Because Nadav and Avihu are really already dead. But really, before here, before the two eldest sons, Nadav and Avihu, die, then I guess all four sons are mentioned about the same. So the four sons of Aaron are Nadav, Avihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. Okay. The two oldest sons, they decide they're going to do their own thing. And we know you're not supposed to, right? One of the basic tenets that Karaites always point out is do not add to the Torah and do not take away from the Torah. Lo tosifu velo tigra'u, right? And here we see basically that Nadav and Avihu decide to add. Maybe they think they're being nadiv. Maybe Nadav thinks he's being nadiv, generous, but really he's adding to the instructions of Yahweh, which is just as bad as taking away from the instructions of Yahweh. And I always use this as a polemic against the rabbis. The rabbis have added many instructions to the law of the Torah, and it's just as bad, if not worse, as we see here, right? Just as bad as taking away from the laws of the Torah. Because maybe you think by adding, oh, you're doing more, but you're actually not doing more. You're doing less. And in this case, doing more was not only doing less, but it was fatal. So, that being said, ויקחו בני אהרון נדב ואביהו איש מחתתו ויתנו בהם אש וישימו עליה קטורת ויקריבו לפני יהוה אש זרה. Okay, so they die. ותצא אש מלפני יהוה ותאכל אותם וימותו לפני יהוה. So Robert Alter points out that in the previous chapter we saw that this fire came out and consumed the offerings, right? ותצא אש מלפני יהוה ותאכל על המזבח את העולה ואת החלבים. So fire came out from God and consumed the offerings that Aaron had brought on behalf of himself and the people. And now we have the same thing. ותצא אש. Here it says ותצא אש. Fire came out מלפני יהוה. Fire came out from before Yahweh. And here in Leviticus 9, it says pretty much the same thing. ותצא אש מלפני יהוה. It says exactly the same thing, right? So it's exactly the same fire that consumed the sacrifices now consumes or kills Nadav and Avihu in chapter 10. ויאמר משה אל אהרון הוא אשר דיבר יהוה לאמור בקרובי קדש وعل פני כל העם אכבד וידום אהרון. So Moshe basically, instead of consoling Aaron, chastises Aaron, saying, בקרובי אקדש ועל פני כל העם אכבד. Those who are close to me, I will be sanctified, and before the face of all the people, I shall be honored. That's an interesting phrase. Let's see. What the heck that is supposed to mean. Let's get some commentary here. The reference is to the cultic inner circle of the designated priests, okay, with an obvious pun on the verb from the same root involved in brought forward alien fire. Okay, so what he's saying here. So yakrivu lifnei Yahweh esh zara. So they brought forth alien fire, a foreign fire. And now what Robert Alter is pointing out is that Bikrovaya Kadesh, those who are close to me, I shall be sanctified. So he's saying this is a reference to the Levites. Maybe. I'm not so sure that that's the case. The meaning of this cryptic one-line poem is not entirely transparent, but the reference to being honored in all the people's presence led some support to the view of several medieval Hebrew commentators that the spectacular punishment of Nadav and Avihu, who as sons of Aaron would be close to God, evident to all the people, is what is intended. God is hallowed by manifesting his power against transgressors. Krovaya Kadesh wa'al pnei kol ha'am achabed wa'idom Aaron. I don't know. Let's look at some other commentaries. We don't have to always rely just on Robert Alter. So let's see what else we have here. So this is actually 10:3. Alrighty. So Leviticus 10:3. Okay. I will be sanctifying them that come nigh me. So this is referring here to the phrase Bikrovai Akadesh. Okay, those who are close to me, Bikrovai, my close ones, Akadesh, I shall be sanctified. God had sanctified to himself Aaron and his sons by the holy unction. That's the anointing. That they might sanctify him in the strict performance of their sacred duties as the mediators between God and man. Having failed to do this, God sanctified himself in them by the awful punishment inflicted upon them for their transgression. The phrase that come near to God is a frequent designation for the priests. So that's the first thing to look at. So here we have some. So let's look at a couple of these. Let's look at it. Let's see if I can just change the position of the. Actually, this is going to last the beginning of the study, so I can take out the charger. 1 second, please. All right, so let's take a look at some of these references here. We have Ezekiel 27:22. Let's take a look at that. Okay. I'm not sure what the reference is here. I think that's probably a mistake. So let's skip that one. So we have a reference to Ezekiel 38:16. You will advance against my people Israel like a cloud that covers the land. So this is the Gog and Magog. In the days to come, Gog, I will bring you against my land so that the nations may know me when I. Okay, I'm not sure what this is referring to either or what the relevance is. So let's forget that. The phrase to come near to God is a frequent designation for the priest. So let's look at that. Exodus 19:22. Okay, so Exodus 19:22. וגם הכהנים הניגשים אל יהוה יתקדשו פן יפרוץ בהם Yahweh. So this is the right before the Ten Commandments are given, and here it's referring to the Kohanim Anigashim El Yahweh, the Kohanim who approach Yahweh. But here it doesn't use the word karov; it used the word approach. Similar idea, but not exactly the same word. Let's look at Numbers 16:15 or 16:5. דבר אל קורח ואל כל עדתו לאמור בוקר וידע יחווה את אשר לו ואת הקדוש ויקריב אליו את אשר יבחר בו ויקריב אליו. Okay, so here this is the story of Korach and his rebellion against Aaron. So here it's referring to God will bring close to those who he brings close to him. So in that case, it is referring kind of indirectly to Aaron. Okay, fair enough. Ezekiel 42:13. אומר אליי לשקוט הצפון, לשקוט הדרום אשר אל פני הגזרה הנה, לשקוט החודש אשר יאכלו שם הכהנים אשר קרובים ליהוה, קדשי קדושים שם יניחו. Okay, so it's referring to, this is a prophecy for what the future temple is going to look like, and here it says, הכהנים אשר קרובים ליהוה. The Kohanim, the priests who are close to Yahweh. So here it is using the word karov to refer to the priests. And let's look at Ezekiel 43:19. ונתת אל הכהנים והלוויים אשר הם מזרע צדוק הקרובים אליי. So again, Krovim Eli is referring to the Kohanim and the Leviim. Okay, so basically this commentator, whoever it is, this is the Elicut commentator for English readers, is trying to make the point that the phrase come near to God is a frequent designation for the priests. And so therefore, when it says here in Leviticus, 10:3, Bekrovai Akadesh. Bekrovai is a reference to the priests and the Levites, to the Kohanim and the Levites. That's basically what this commentary is trying to say. That's also basically the same thing that Robert Alter says, right? The reference is the cultic inner circle of the designated priests. Let's look at the Ibn Ezra. So this is Leviticus 10:3. ושדיבר כבר אמר לי השם שהוא יראה קדושתו בקרובים אליו כמעט רק אתכם ידעתי וכאשר אראה בם קדושתי אז אהיה נכבד ועל פניי כל העם אכבד ויראו ממני. Faramar told me. Shem she'u yira'eh kedushato b'krovai. Okay, so there's a reference here. Huh. Okay. So what does the Ibn Ezra say? Far Amar Li, Hashem, God already said to me that He, and this is not Ibn Ezra saying that God is speaking to him. It's Ibn Ezra quoting Moshe. So Kfar Amar Li Hashem, God already said to me, Moshe, Shehu Yareh Kedushato B'Krovim Elav, that He will show His holiness to those who are close to Him. However, this is not written anywhere, as the comment says here. However, Moses did not record this communication. Okay, so that's just again rabbinical speculation. So I have no idea where the Ibn Ezra is getting this. Kimat rak itchem yadati. So kimat, it's like, or it's almost rak itchem yadati. I have known only you, and that's a reference to Amos 3:2. We could look at Amos 3:2 for a second. Yeah, there's nowhere need to go to it. Okay. Kasher ere bam kedushati. Az eye nichbad. When I show them my glory, then I shall be honored. Al panai kol am echabed v'yir'u mimenu. And before the faces of all the people, I shall be honored, and they shall fear before me. Okay. So basically, he's saying it's similar to this verse in Amos 3:2. Rak etchem yadati kasher. Well, let's find the verse. Actually, Amos 3:2. I have known only you from among all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you or revisit you or visit you at kol avonotechem. I will visit you, or I will. It's very hard to. We've spoken about this word pakad before. You should translate it as visit or revisit. I will punish you for all of your sins. It's the way for all of your transgressions. The way I'll translate it. Okay. So I don't think the Ibn Ezra has a lot to add here. He's basically just referring to some, rabbinical mumbo jumbo that somehow God had previously told Moshe that He will demonstrate His holiness to those who are close to Him. However, that never appears in the Torah. So Ibn Ezra is kind of useless here, I think, mostly. He refers it to a verse in Amos 3:2, but that doesn't work very well. Actually, these verses that this person brings, the what is it called again? The Elikat commentary for English readers, are much more relevant. Right, Exodus 19:22, etc. Okay, so for the heck of it, we could look at Rashi, and then we're going to end when I used to use a primitive word processor. Whenever I would write the word Rashi, it would autocorrect it to Rash. So I call him Rash because that's about what he is to the Torah, a giant rash. So we're in Leviticus 10:3. And Rashi doesn't have any commentary on Leviticus 10:3, I don't think. Oops, wrong chapter. Let's try that again. Rash. And 3, Hu asher diber v'gomer. Echan diber, how did he speak? Nodati shama livnei Yisrael v'nikdash b'kvodi. I shall be known there to the children of Israel, and I shall be sanctified in my glory. And that's Shemot Kaf Tet, Exodus 19. I'm sorry, Exodus 29. So Exodus 29:43 he's referring to. Let's take a look at Exodus 29:43. Oops, open this up in a new tab. Exodus 29:43. ונודעתי שמה לבני ישראל ונקדש בכבודי. Speaking about the daily offerings. וקידשתי את אוהל מועד ואת המזבח, את אהרון ואת בניו אקדש לכהן לי. Okay, so Rashi is referring to this verse 43. ונודעתי שמה לבני ישראל ונקדש בכבודי, referring to the mizbeach, the altar. So what is Rashi trying to say? What is Rash trying to say? So referring to Nikdash B'Kvodi. So we bring it back here, Leviticus 10:3. Pnei kol ha'am achabed. Nikdash B'Kvodi. So I guess he's relating this. Here we have Nikdash, Ekadesh. Al pnei kol ha'am achabed. These two words appear together in Exodus 29:43. Wanadati shama livnei Israel wanikdash b'kvodi. I shall be sanctified in my glory. And here it says lemor b'krovai kadesh. Those who come close to me, I shall be honored, or I should be I should be sanctified. Al pnei kol ha'am echabed. And in the face of all the people, I shall be glorified. Okay. I guess he's saying that these two words basically appear together in another verse. Okay, not bad. Oh, here we go. But you should not understand that is in my honor, in my glory, but in those michubad, those who honor me. Or those who are honored in me, my honored ones, it says here. And that's Zvachim, that's a reference to the Talmud. So we have an Antikra'e, which is usually a midrashic reinterpretation of a word, B'kvodi, ele mechubadai, Amar lo Moshe le'Aaron, Aaron achi, Yodea Haiti, Shitkadesh Habayit. What? I'm in the middle. I'll be done in a couple minutes. What do you want? Yeah, we're going to eat soon, okay? I'm right in the middle. I'll be done in about 5 minutes, all right? So please let me be. Malo Moshe la'Aaron, Aaron achi, Yodea Haiti, Shitkadesh Habayit miyudav shel makom, Haiti savur. Okay, at any rate, Rashi goes on to kind of a midrashic interpretation to try to explain this verse again back here. B'krovai kadesh al pnei kol ha'am echabed v'yidom Aaron. Okay. So we have kind of proven through the references that we got from Elikat's commentary for English readers, that yes, it does seem that when it speaks to Krovai, Karo, those who are close to me, it often is referring to the Kohanim and Levites. And before the face of all the people, I shall be honored. And so the inference here seems to perhaps be, at least according to, was it Robert Alter? Yeah. Quoting medieval commentators, and I think also this Elikot says kind of the same thing. God sanctified him in them by the awful punishment inflicted upon their transgression. So basically what some of these commentaries are trying to say, basically, if I could just sum it up here, is that in Leviticus 10:3 we see B'krovai kadesh, I will be sanctified in those who are close to me, meaning I should be sanctified by the Kohanim and the Levites, Krovai, referring to the Kohanim and the Levites, and in front of all the face of all the people, I shall be glorified. So what are these commentaries saying that this kind of cryptic passage means? That I should be, or I will be, and should be honored or sanctified by the Kohanim and the Levites, and therefore by killing off Nadav and Avihu, who betrayed the laws of the sanctuary, I will be glorified. Well, if that can't happen, that if the Kohanim don't honor me, since I should be, don't sanctify me, since I should be sanctified by the Kohanim and the Levites, if they betray the laws of the sacrificial system, then I will, by killing them off, I will be nonetheless honored or glorified in before the face of all the people. In other words, you're not just gonna come make your own laws. You should be sanctifying me by following my laws. If you break my laws, then I'm going to be honored by giving a very public death to you. Is basically what these commentators are saying that this kind of cryptic phrase means. Okay, and with that, we're going to leave the morning study. We'll pick it up this afternoon in about 2.5 hours. Hope you enjoyed the study. It's interesting stuff. This afternoon, I really want to focus more on the idea of kashrut, of clean and unclean animals, and we'll leave enough time to speak about that. In the meantime, I wish you all Shabbat Shalom, and we will end the study.